So welcome to this video. My name is Alex. I'm just starting off on my walk up in the mountains, and this is where I live, surrounded by eucalyptus forest. And I've got huge kind of acres and acres, kilometers and kilometers of mountain tracks behind my house. So every day I go walking the mountains with my doggies. Here's two of them. There's Fluffy. Hi Fluffy. And there's Charlie. Hi Charlie. And this is Honey. Hello Honey. And somewhere there's a fourth one. Ah, there she is up here. That's Molly. So what I thought I'd do, I thought I'd share with you my journey up the mountain and talk to you on the way. So it's like you're coming for a walk with me basically. And not everything I say is going to be interesting. Not everything I say is going to be relevant. But I believe, or I hope, that a lot of what I say will be helpful to you, will be of benefit to you, will help you get some clarity and perspective. So I'm hoping that I can be of benefit to you in this video in some way. Now, hopefully it's not too boring that you can't see my face, but the sun is so bright that you'll just get a face full of sunshine basically. So I thought it's more interesting to video my dog's long trek. Yeah, I don't envy dogs having a big fur coat in the hot temperatures, especially in the summertime. It must be really hard wearing a full-time permanent coat, full-time fur coat. So just a little bit about myself if you haven't seen me before in my videos. My name is Alex. Alexander Bell is my full name. I'm a communicator. I love communicating and I love music as well. Very passionate about music and the power of music. I'm a father of 4 children. Not these 4 children, obviously. These aren't mine. I didn't produce these. But I've got 4 human children. And the oldest is 18, the youngest is 9 years old. And I live in southern Europe, in a warm, sunnier climate with a lot of sunshine, and that's important to me. I think sunshine is, it's like food. For me, sunshine is like food. I don't know how you feel about sunshine, but obviously you don't want to get too much of it because it can burn you, but I see sunshine as food. And I feel when we live in a sunnier climate, we're mentally more balanced. Physically, we're going to be stronger and our immune systems are going to be stronger because the sun is integral. I just feel like, how can I live in a country? Who could want to live in a country where they hardly see the sunshine? You know, because the sun just brings joy and heat, of course, but it brings a lot of joy and it makes people happier, basically, and it just feeds us. It feeds us spiritually. So something else I didn't tell you about myself is that I've been studying healing nutrition for the past 25 years. About 25 years. 25 years ago, at the age of 20 years old, I became a raw foodist. I was living in Glastonbury in England, and I became a raw foodist. I discovered this group of people who are, only eating raw food and who are quite deep into it, and the kind of profundity of what it does to you as a human being when you only eat raw food, its effect on you psychologically and spiritually. So I met a group of people who are only eating raw food, and something in my brain, a light bulb just came on in my brain. Like, I went to a talk with somebody who's an expert in the field of living only on raw food. So I tried it. I was 20 years old, and me and my partner, who's now my wife, we both became raw foodists, and that was the beginning of this, I don't know, propulsion into the light, I suppose you'd say, like a propulsion. I've always, since my late teens, I've been spiritually focused. I've been interested in consciousness, and what happens when we open our mind? What happens when we kind of explore consciousness? What else is there? Because the material world, we pretty much know it. It's familiar, it's predictable. And of course there's beautiful places in different parts of the world and there's different experiences, but we're familiar with the material world and how it works and how beautiful it can be. But the spiritual world is pretty much unknown to all of us. We haven't really explored it, and it hasn't really been mapped out. And that's the problem with the spiritual world. I wouldn't call it a problem, more than an advantage. But the issue with the spiritual world is it can't be mapped out. So we can make maps of the physical world, we can make maps of the earth and all the different places you can go, and we can understand the laws of physics, the physical laws, in great detail, great sophistication. So the material world, it can be known. But the spiritual world, it can only be explored and known by you, and no one else can tell you where to go. No one else can tell you what it's like. You have to explore it and experience it for yourself. And so that's why my area of exploration that I've been most interested in, most passionate about, has been the realm of consciousness and what can happen to our mind. So that's another reason that changing your diet, and especially eating raw food, it opens your mind. It cleanses your mind, and it allows your mind to be lighter and more kind of clear and sharp. Whereas if we're eating a lot of heavy food and eating a lot of cooked food, then it dulls our mind. So that's one thing I learned in my early 20s, that I can change my consciousness through the way I eat. And if I purify my diet, I am purifying my mind, I'm purifying my consciousness, and I'm purifying my spirit. It's a complete purification if you are really pure with what you put into your body. And then we discover what our body is capable of. Then we discover what we're capable of feeling, and we discover what we're capable of perceiving. Only when we purify our life can we see these things, because you have no idea what you're capable of. You have no idea of what you're capable of feeling deep down. I mean, maybe you've experienced a wide range of emotions in your life, and you've experienced the highest highs and the lowest lows, but we don't really know the full capacity of our mind and our heart, what we're capable of experiencing and feeling deep inside. And so we've got to explore, we've got to find out, we've got to be scientific, we've got to say, right, well, how can I know for sure? How can I find out for sure what my capacity is as a human being? And that's why you've got to experiment on yourself in terms of changing your diet, purifying your lifestyle, purifying your thoughts, living more simply, living closer to nature, living in the sunshine, living surrounded by just wilderness. It can only be understood when it's experienced. So I can encourage you to retreat into nature. And I don't mean to run away, but to go back more into an environment that really supports you, which is the natural world. It's an environment which supports and nourishes you. So isn't it insane that we cut ourselves off from this beautiful environment, and then we deny ourselves the nourishment and the support that is there available to us? We deny ourselves because we think life is more interesting in front of a screen, or life is more interesting in the hustle and bustle, or where we can earn more money. I'd rather be homeless in nature than rich in the city. I would rather be poor in nature than rich in the city, because I know nature supports me, and I know nature takes care of me, and it will do the same for all of us. Because what you might call God, or what you might call the universe, or what you might call divine love, whatever it is, that great force which flows through everything and which kind of gives life to everything, it takes care of you. It wants to take care of you, and it does that through the natural world. Of course it can do it in any way it wants to. It can provide for us and protect us in any way that it wants to. But when you're in nature, you're closer to that force, and it's easy for that force to communicate with you. So that's why I like to spend so much time in nature, because I find when I'm around the house, it's just about what I can do. What do I need to do? What is there to do the jobs I need to do around the house, or what can I do on a screen, what can I do creatively. It's all about what I can do. But as soon as I get out into the hills, now you might say that I'm doing something by making this video, but really I'm just recording what I normally do on my walks, which is open myself up. So I don't know if you call that doing. It's more a case of kind of remembering how it feels just to be without doing something. Do you remember what it feels like? Do you know what it feels like to just be without having something to do? And that includes in your own mind, without thinking, because thinking is an activity. So can you remember what it feels like just to be? Well, it's easier to have that experience, to feel that. It's easier in nature because it's a supportive and nourishing environment, as I said before. So we've got to get out into nature as much as possible and into the sunshine and connect. Remember that we're part of nature, and it supports us and it nourishes us, and it feeds us. It feeds our soul. It feeds our consciousness. Nature contains profound truths. It's the truths we need, and that's why I think if you go into nature and spend more time in nature, get used to being in nature more, then your life will change. And you'll remember all the really important things that we have to remember in life. And there are lots of them, too many to mention. So many important truths and spiritual realizations. And just realizations about what life is. Realizations about who we are, what consciousness is. Experiential realizations. Not intellectual realizations, but experiential realizations about the nature of reality. And that all happens when we return to balance, return to harmony, and connect with nature and receive the information that nature wants to give us. Because the natural world is constantly broadcasting profound information to us all the time, spiritual information. And our perception changes when we start trying to listen to those messages, when we start trying to tune in to what nature is saying, the natural world. When we choose to do that, when we choose to tune in and consciously pay attention to what nature is communicating with us, then that's when our state of consciousness can really be set free. Because our mind is part of the one mind, the natural mind, which is love. Ultimately, it's the mind of love, and it exists everywhere around us, especially in nature, and it exists in our own brain, the mind of love. So we think in harmony, we think according to love. Our thoughts follow the blueprint of love, and we realize the power, the creative power of our own mind, and how it can be used for the benefit of everything that lives on Earth. Isn't that right, Charlie? Yes. So, like I said, I just like sharing these thoughts because that's how I feel. I want to live in love. I want to give myself to love. I want to be a vehicle of love, and having experienced to some degree what it's like to live that way, that I know that it benefits everybody. It benefits us all. We all benefit if we all do this. If we all choose to align ourselves with loving thoughts, loving actions, not just upon others but on ourselves, taking care of ourselves, nourishing ourselves, putting ourselves in the right environment, then I just see this world becoming more and more beautiful, more and more like paradise. And it all depends on us being willing to, to be changed by love, to be transformed by love, and then we become love. Or we remember that we are love. That's probably more accurate. And we cleanse our mind of all these misunderstandings about who we are, all these misperceptions about who we are, none of which are true, but they're kind of self-delusions, images of who we think we are. But when we cleanse our mind of all those delusions, our mind sees clearly, and it sees that we are part of love, this great divine force of love. We are part of it, we're not separate from it. and we can actually feel it. It's not an idea, it's not an understanding, it's not a concept, it's something you need to feel deep, deep down. You need to feel this connection to love. In fact, you need to feel the love that you are. It's that simple. You need to feel the love that you are. And the danger is conceptualizing it all. That's the big danger. It's so easy to start debating and discussing and analyzing things like that. You know, when someone tells you that you need to return to love and reunite with love and experience yourself as love, then those are nice words, but you can't just turn on the switch. It's not like we've all got this switch and we just switch it when we've forgotten that the switch is there, and so we all just, when someone reminds us we've got this switch, we just flip the switch and everything's perfect and okay. Well, I wish it was like that. But having said that, the journey back to remembering that you are love, you are part of love, is a very, very beautiful one. And, just like when you've climbed a huge mountain, you get this wonderful feeling of having accomplished something amazing. Well, that's the feeling, as well as a great feeling of relief when you come home back to the sense of being just love, pure love. When you come home and just regain that feeling, regain that connection to love, then you're glad that it was a journey. You think the journey was worth it. It's like, oh well, that was a long journey, but it seems all the more worthwhile now that I've come home, now that I remember who I am. That journey is like a fond memory. It's our story, really. We've all got a story of how we've gotten to where we are right now, and my story might not be very interesting. Your story might not be very interesting, but I believe that everyone's story is actually interesting. I think the journey we've been on to get where we are, it's profound when we really look at it and we look at the obstacles, the challenges, the pains, the hurts, the realizations, and how everything taught us something. When we look back and learn from our journey and realize what we've learned, realize how much closer we've come to the truth, to love, to God, to goodness, whatever you want to call it. When we realize that our journey's brought us closer and closer and closer to that great force of love, then the journey seems fully worthwhile, I promise you. And it's a journey we're all still on, without exception. I'm still on that journey, I'm still on the journey of kind of completely giving myself over to that force of love, which you might want to call God, but it is love. Essentially it's love. I'm still in the process of doing that, and I think we're all in the process of doing that. And anyone who says they're not in the process, or they've completed the process of doing that, probably has a bit of ego lingering around. So this brings me to this very, very important word, which I think is the key to everything, which is humility. I love the word humility because it's a feeling. Humility is a feeling. It's not something you can analyze and judge if someone has or not. You can't look at someone else and say, are they humble? Do they have humility? Because in the act of doing that, you're becoming arrogant. It's a very arrogant act to judge someone else's character, to find out if they are more advanced or how can I put it, more behind you. Maybe you're more advanced spiritually than them, or maybe you're more humble than them, or maybe you're more loving. We only do this, we only compare ourselves and judge other people because we feel insecure about where we are. Sorry, I had to stop filming there because I was extremely thirsty and I could barely speak anymore. So, I was talking about stories, how we've all got a story. We've all got a story of how we got to where we are, our journey, you could say. And it's very interesting to look back at your story and realize the things that brought you to understanding, the things that gave you greater insight, how you learned from difficult situations and what you learned from difficult situations. It's actually really useful to go back and look at what we've learned through our journey. And so I really recommend you do that. and in a positive way. Try and see the silver lining to all the clouds that appeared at different times in your life, and see, what did I learn from that? How did that benefit me? What good did that bring into my life? So I don't know if it's interesting, but I'm going to tell you the story of how I came to where I am right now, and or what I see are the significant parts of that journey. And it may be an interesting story to you. I don't know. So I'm 45 years old right now. As I said, I've got 4 children. I'm married, and when I was, let's see now, 18 years old, someone gave me a spiritual book. It was a Buddhist book, actually. It was The Way of Zen by Alan Watts, who's a famous Western Buddhist teacher, I think. But at 18 now, I read The Way of Zen, and I'd been taking a lot of drugs before in the many years of previous. Well, let me see now. Probably in the 5 years previous to receiving this book, I had taken a lot of drugs. I'd smoked marijuana. I'd taken LSD. I'd taken MDMA, a lot of all these things, MDMA, amphetamines. Fortunately, I never touched anything like heroin or crack or cocaine. In fact, I didn't even touch cocaine, thank God. But I'd taken a lot of drugs, and my mind had been on a journey, into the highs and the lows. I'd been very, very depressed, suicidal for many, many years, suicidally depressed. But also at the same time, I would have such peaks, such kind of epiphanies of light and insight, that it's almost like even though I'd been through so much suffering and so much pain and so much kind of heartache just caused by myself, all of it seemed worth it when I got these glimpses of kind of higher realities or epiphanies about the nature of God or love, whatever. It all seemed worth it. All those difficult times seemed worth it. And those epiphanies they increased as I turned away from the drugs, which was probably at the age of, say, 19, maybe 20. I'd stopped and I turned, instead of drugs, because I wanted to explore consciousness, as I said at the beginning of the video. I wanted to explore consciousness, so that's why I enjoyed taking drugs to a point, because I wanted to see what the drugs would show me, or what realities they would reveal to me. I was very interested. And but soon you realise with drugs that they become predictable, and also you start seeing that there can be a detrimental side to them being used regularly. They might be beneficial infrequently when you do them, on special occasions, maybe in nature, under a full moon or something, but they become detrimental. The more they're used recreationally, they become detrimental. So I turned away from that kind of drug-induced explorations in consciousness and turned towards meditation. As I said, this book, The Way of Zen, which I received, someone gave me when I was 18 years old, that got my mind on the right track of exploring the inner reality, exploring my soul, through disciplining my mind and through not just automatically going into thought, not always being lost in thoughts, but by bringing my mind out of thoughts and just enjoying the space that exists above thoughts. And so I began this journey of experiencing more the inner world, and I liked all these motifs and slogans and kind of catchy ideas that were connected to spirituality, and especially like Zen Buddhism. I loved all kind of the spiritual wordplay with the koans, like Zen koans. I really found those opened my mind, that words can be like a portal to a deeper understanding. So I really got involved I really love just reading Zen Buddhist books and words of wisdom from famous or historical Zen Buddhist figures. And it helped me discipline my own mind. It helped me learn that I needed to discipline my own mind. Because if you don't do that, then you cannot progress spiritually. You'll get stuck on a certain level, which is essentially the level of thought. And you've got to go beyond thought to progress spiritually, to explore the more lighter realms, the more how can I put it, the more golden realms of spirituality, which are beautiful beyond description, then you've got to go beyond the level of thought. You've got to rise above the thought, rise above the clouds of thought, and then you see the sun shining gloriously with no obstacles, nothing blocking it. It's just pure golden sunshine. So that's a metaphor for really the spiritual journey. But what was I saying? So I got into Zen Buddhism. And then, as I said, at the age of 22, I think it was 21 or 22, I discovered this raw food community in Glastonbury, and I changed my diet. So I met my future wife. She's my wife now, but I met her at the age of 21 in a spiritual community in southern England. I walked in and she was just standing on reception, welcoming people, and something clicked, and I fell in love with her. And so we moved to Glastonbury a year later, and we both met this community of raw foodists. So that accelerated my my explorations into consciousness. Becoming a raw foodist really accelerated and intensified my explorations in my own mind and my own state of perception. What could I feel? What is real? What's the highest, the best, the most joyous I can feel just by living naturally without taking drugs? So that became my obsession, really, and my passion, that we are in control of our state of consciousness. That doesn't mean we can just press a button and experience a different state of consciousness. What it means is, depending on the choices we make in this practical world, and most significantly with the things we put in our body, depending on those choices, then we will experience different levels of reality. And if you keep overloading yourself, overeating, eating heavy, dense food, and eating mostly cooked food, then you'll keep yourself at this certain level, a certain state of perception. And you'll be amazed as your levels of perception rise up from lightening up your diet, becoming healthier, spending more time in nature, drinking more water. As you become lighter, as you kind of unburden your system and actually give it what it needs, then your level of perception starts to increase, and you perceive levels of light in this world that you previously couldn't perceive because you weren't open to, you weren't receptive to them, because you were keeping yourself in this state of how can I put this, slightly depressed. You're slightly depressed, your immune system, which isn't just about keeping you healthy. Your immune system is about, it's intrinsically linked in with your perception. We think our immune system is just something which fights off diseases and keeps us healthy, but actually our immune system is intrinsically linked with how we perceive reality. So when your immune system is strong and it's kind of vibrant with life and vitality, then you perceive this similar reality. You perceive the vibrance in reality, in the world. You perceive it. You're more receptive to it because you're attuned to it. Because that's always there. That beauty, that divine harmony is always there in nature. But we're detuned from it because we're keeping ourselves kind of oppressed by our choices and by our poor health. We're keeping our immune system and our whole physiology depressed and kind of weighed down. So as it becomes lighter, then it starts to attune to the natural world, and we realize that is reality. That is the energy that's coming through the natural world, which you could call love, which you could call spiritual light. It doesn't matter what you call it, but the energy that flows through nature, that animates and gives life to all living things on this planet, is reality. It is reality, and we have to attune to that reality. And then we have insight. Then we have profound insight into the deeper aspects of life. Then we begin to understand profound things which can't possibly be put into words. It's really a waste of time trying to put profound things into words, because we each have to experience them. So I can experience the things I'm talking about and then communicate to you from that place. So while I'm experiencing this connection to nature, which is what I get when I'm in the mountains, when I walk in the sunshine in the mountains, I I experience what I'm talking about. I experience this connection to that love that's everywhere, and I start to feel that I'm part of that love. And so the best thing I can do is to communicate with you while I'm in that space, while I'm connected to love, communicate with you and encourage you to connect to it as well. It's almost like, let me think of a kind of analogy or a metaphor. It's almost like someone is having this wonderful experience, and when you're having this wonderful experience that you know that everybody else is looking for, then all you want to do is tell everyone about it. You want to say, hey, look, because everyone's looking for the signpost. Everyone's wandering around trying to remember where it is, where this lost, forgotten thing is. Everyone's looking for, but we've all forgotten what it is and where it is. So we're wandering around. We are actually searching for it without realizing it. We're searching for it in the material world. We're searching for it in things we do, pursuits, activities, ambitions, careers. We're all looking for it, but we've forgotten what it is. And the best thing I can do for you, the most useful and powerful thing I can do for you in this video, is to remind you what you need to do to reconnect to that love, to God, to reality, to remind you how you can find it again. And that is, as I've said, by being more in nature, but by purifying yourself. You've got to purify yourself, which means purifying what you put into your body. You will be amazed. If you don't change your diet, nothing else will really change, I promise you. You might find more interesting things to do in the world, but if you don't purify your diet, nothing about the way you feel will really change dramatically. But when you do purify your diet, and you take out all the things which cause discomfort or irritability or problems for your body, anything which congests you or gives you a bad feeling or kind of decreases your sense of wellness, take all those things out of your diet and instead put in an abundance of the things which give you a sense of wellness, which make you feel nourished, which make you feel kind of energized and vital, full of life and vitality. Choose those things. So I'm just going to say a few things that you should definitely put in your diet if you want to go on this journey, if you want to reconnect and plug back in to reality. Then you need to, I recommend you start using wheatgrass juice every single day. I drink it every morning, fresh wheatgrass juice. So I grow wheatgrass at home and I have it every morning. And that not only keeps me really well, it keeps me healthy when it seems like everyone around me is getting sick. Not only does it keep me well, but it fortifies me and it kind of gives me an energy that I don't really find it anywhere else. It's like a secret magic gift. Wheatgrass juice is like a great secret. It's grass. We're talking about grass, which comes from the most common crop, the most common grain on earth. So it's the most common thing you could possibly think of, the cheapest, most common thing. The grass which comes from wheat. You grow it, you cut it, you juice it, and you drink the juice, and it transforms you. I promise you, if you have 2 weeks of having wheatgrass juice, well, I tell you, 1 week, actually 1 week is enough, but 2 weeks will really make it clear. If you have 1 or 2 weeks of drinking wheatgrass juice every morning and kind of just lightening up your diet, taking out the really heavy things and just eating more light food more regularly, if you do that, then life will change. I guarantee you. Your perception will open up. You'll start to perceive more energy in the world. You'll start to perceive this reality of love, especially if you're spending time in nature. You have to be spending more time in nature because you won't experience it in 4 walls. You won't experience it in a building. You won't experience it through some, pleasurable substance that you take. You need to get into nature. You need to get into nature and spend a good amount of time in the sunshine and reconnect just with the harmony that exists everywhere in nature. Reconnect with a sense of harmony, because nature is exuding this deep, deep feeling of harmony. And we can feel it too. And that's when we really feel connected, when we feel the deep harmony which exists in nature. We reconnect to it. So we have to purify ourselves. We have to purify ourselves, and we have to spend more time in nature. It's really two simple things. And purifying yourself doesn't just mean getting rid of bad foods, it also means getting rid of bad information, like negative information that makes you worry, that makes you afraid, that makes you fear for the future, which makes you see the future in a pessimistic way, which makes you worry about where everything is going in the world. You've got to purify your mind from all that information because it brings in negativity. And while the more negativity there is in you, the more disconnected you will be from that, from reality, from that reality of love that you experience in nature. The more disconnected from it you'll be, the more negativity you have, the more of that negative information that's in your system and in your mind, then the more disconnected you'll be from the only thing that you're looking for. So if you're going to really find what you're looking for, and it's the most glorious, beautiful thing in the entire universe, and I promise you that's not an exaggeration, the thing that you're looking for is the most glorious, beautiful thing in the entire universe, and it's right there and it's available to you. It's right there, right here, right available to you, especially when you go into nature. It's easier for you to feel it and connect to it, but it's there waiting for you. What you have to do is you have to empty out the negativity, empty out the weakness from your system, empty out the negative emotions, the destructive emotions that your thoughts create in you. You've got to empty out the negative and get rid of the unhealthy influences in your diet as well. There's unhealthy influences in terms of thoughts and information. There's also the unhealthy influence of the things you're putting in your body, which don't help you to feel alive. They don't help you to feel really vibrant and free. That's how you want to feel, vibrant and free. And that is going to happen when you start purifying yourself, purifying your diet, purifying the information that goes into your eyes and into your ears, and just choosing positive information. Now, of course, it's hard to avoid the news, but don't focus on it. Don't think about it. Don't talk about it. Talk about the goodness. Talk about the force which is behind all of this. The force which is above the clouds. That's what I mean. When you go above the clouds, when you go above all the thoughts, then you see that behind it all is the glorious sunshine. And if we focus on that, then all the conflict, all the drama and all the fear can't touch us, because we've lifted ourselves above the clouds. We've lifted our minds, and therefore we've lifted our spirits above the clouds, because that's who you are. You know, it's not your body. The body is not who you are. It's your spirit or your soul. And when you rise above the clouds of thought, your soul rises above the clouds of thought. Because wherever your mind is where you are. Wherever your mind is where your spirit is. So you've got to take your mind above the clouds of all the thoughts, no matter what the thoughts are. Take your mind above the clouds and put your mind on the light. Focus or enjoy the glorious light that exists above the clouds. Because that's where your soul will be. That's where your spirit will be, above the clouds. And that's where you want to be, because you are a being of light. You need the light. You're connected to the light. You belong in the light. So you're actually looking for the light. But you'll only find it when you take your mind away from the realm of thinking, away from all thoughts, all understandings, all ideas about what the future may hold or what's going on in the world. Take your mind away from the realm of thoughts completely and bring it back to the realm of love. Bring your attention to that which comes from love, that which helps you to feel more love, the information which brings more faith, more love and hope and joy into your heart. Focus on the things which feed you with love and remind you of love. Put your mind there, but most importantly, be in nature. Communicate with people, communicate with human beings about love, about goodness. People who want to talk about love, who want to focus on the good, communicate with those kinds of people. Because you'll support each other, you'll nourish each other, and you'll get a lot of joy from being around each other because you're choosing to focus on the positive. You're choosing to focus on the goodness that exists, which is much more powerful than the darkness and the badness that exists. Much more powerful. And it will always win, because it is reality. The goodness is reality. It is reality. It's that simple. But we can only experience this. We can only trust that this is true and make the journey so that we can experience this for ourselves, so we can feel that the goodness is reality. Reality is goodness. So our mind is in that realm of light above the clouds, and our heart is just feeling deeply this sense of love and goodness flowing through it. That's a state of consciousness that I've always been searching for. And that's a state of consciousness that I'm interested in. That's where I want to live. You could call it living in love. And I actually wrote a book called How to Live in Love, and that's free to download, by the way. If you look in the description to this video, you'll see you can download that book and read it for free. So it's about living in love, because we're not separate from love. Love is everywhere, and we're part of it. It's a delusion that we are separate from love. To believe or perceive that you are separate from love is a delusion, and we have to end that delusion. That delusion is ending. That's why people are calling this the end times. It's not the end of the world, it's the end of the delusion. The end of all the ideas of what we thought we are and what we thought this world is. All the ideas are coming to an end, because ideas are delusions. Reality is perceived. It can't be understood, it can't be thought about, it can't be conceptualized. Reality must be perceived and felt deep inside of you. Reality is inside of you, and you connect to it inside of you, inside your heart. That's where you connect to reality. And so everything else is a delusion. Everything which separates you from that experience is a delusion, or is a distraction and a diversion.